A few years ago, my publishers arranged for me to be interviewed at this really large conference. It was about my first book, which I was just so excited about. And I knew I wasn't going to be interviewed on the main stage of the conference. It was going to happen in a little tent where all the books were sold just to the side of the main arena, but it was still a big, big deal for me. I got up early in the morning to get ready. I drove to the arena, found the tent, walked in, and it was well set up. They'd set up a stage, all the chairs were ready, there was a good number of people milling about the outside. We were off to a pretty good start. An announcement came over the PA system. Ladies and gentlemen, please join us at the stage for an interview with author Sheridan Voysey. My big moment, it was here. Who knows what might happen from this point on? Will people be moved to tears by my profound insights? Will there be queues of people lining up to have their books signed? Could worldwide revival break out right now? You never knew who knew what God was about to do. I walked up onto the stage with my interviewer. We sat down and I looked out onto the audience. How many people were there? 400? 40? Try 4 people sitting in the audience, and 2 of those were from my publishers who were paid to be there. We started the interview, we tried to make the most of the situation, and you'll be glad to know that numbers did actually increase. By the end of the interview, there were 6 people in my audience. You can imagine, after that, I was pretty keen to make an exit out of that tent. And as I did, as I stepped outside, I was almost swept away by this sea of people that were all flowing towards the main arena. It turned out this big-name speaker was about to take the main stage of the conference. I had 6 people in my audience. He'd have 16,000. I didn't feel like hanging around, so I went against the crowd, against this big sea of people, kind of like this little goldfish swimming upstream trying to get to the car park. I found my car, I opened the door, I went and sat inside, and I felt very, very small. Imagine your country is in a mess and you're elected president or prime minister. You have a plan that you know will bring back peace and prosperity to your country, and now you have the power to call anybody you wish to come and serve by your side. Who do you choose? Well, you choose the best and brightest in the land, right? You scour the country looking for the finest thinkers and leaders and economists and strategists. This is no time for little people. This is no time for unproven people. This is time for big-name, influential, arena-filling talent. You don't entrust a grand task like this to little people. That is, unless you're Jesus. Think about the people who have gathered around Jesus as he gives his Sermon on the Mount. They're the same people that have come from all the villages around the area seeking healing. Some have been sick, some have suffered seizures, some have been paralyzed. And even after he's healed them, Jesus has still called them poor and sad and mourning and meek people, even persecuted people. There's no power or influence here. These are humble villagers. These are fishermen. These are homemakers. But what does Jesus say to them? You are the salt of the earth. You are the light of the world. You are my chosen change agents. Really, Jesus? You got this right? What can this little bunch of peasants have on anything? What effect can they have? This group of insignificant ones, these little people? Well, as it turns out, they'll have a huge effect. Within just a few years, they'll start changing history as the Christian faith spreads through them right throughout the Roman Empire. Salt of the earth, light of the world. Jesus calls the little people of the world to be his world changers. In Britain, the homes of famous people are often marked with a blue plaque. The homes of Mozart, Charles Dickens, Jane Austen, they're all marked like this, as is the home in Liverpool where John Lennon from the Beatles once lived. Where I live, in Oxford, there's a house with a blue plaque on it that reads like this: C.S. Lewis, scholar and author, lived here 1930 to 1963. Many of us who live in England dream of one day having a blue plaque on our homes to be remembered by. It seems to me that when most of us think of this word calling, we kind of think of these blue plaque moments that we hope our lives will be remembered by. The symphonies we'll compose, the books we'll write, the genre-defining bands we'll come up with. Or maybe it's the business we'll start, or the social enterprise we'll come up with, or the scientific breakthroughs we'll make. Whenever we think about our callings, most of us think big, not small. It's good to have dreams. History has been changed by people who have pursued a grand goal. But it's funny, when Jesus talks about this whole idea of calling, he doesn't so much think big, he thinks small. You are the salt of the earth. Think about the salt you use at home. Salt enhances flavour. So there's a sense right from the beginning when Jesus says you're going to be my change agents by doing something really positive, by bringing out what is good in the culture, by enhancing its God flavours. And so we celebrate good music and good art and good work and a neighbour's kindness. We give a round of applause for a medical breakthrough. We encourage a political leader who makes a good decision. We don't just write letters of protest when somebody does the wrong thing. We don't get nasty on social media. Wherever we find what is good and true and beautiful, we celebrate it. We enhance it, no matter where it is, no matter where we find it, in the university classroom, at the home, in the daycare centre, in our community. And salt doesn't just enhance, it preserves, it halts decay. And so there's a sense in which Jesus talks about us being salt of the earth as being people who, there will be times when we actually say no to things, to policies, to actions, to products that bring harm and not good to our neighbour. We'll be salt in the earth when we work for justice, when we protect the vulnerable, when we stand against discrimination, when we care for the poor. As the great Christian statesman John Stott once said, when Christians are conscientious citizens, they're acting as salt in their communities. And you are the light of the world. Shine, illuminate, dispel the darkness, bring out its God colours. Our words can bring light to people, shining hope in the darkness when maybe that's all they can see. But what Jesus says really shines are our actions. He says, let your good deeds shine for all to see so that everyone may praise your Father in heaven. And so we mow someone's lawn and we visit the sick and we help the unemployed find jobs and the lonely find friends. We sponsor a child, we cook a meal, we go shopping for the elderly, we volunteer at a charity. All those kinds of deeds and all the others that you can think of reveal the God of love who lives and who loves our neighbour through us. There's this great story of a 7th century farmhand named Caedmon. Caedmon's day job is looking after the animals at Whitby Abbey, a monastery north of England. But one night he has this extraordinary dream. In the dream, a man comes to him and asks him to sing a song about creation. Now, Caedmon's a farmhand, he's not a musician, and so he refuses, he's too shy. But the man says, you can do this. And sure enough, as the dream progresses, Caedmon sings a song praising the God of creation. When he wakes the next morning, he realizes that he can remember the song in detail. He's taken to Hilda, who's the monastery's leader. She listens carefully to his story, and then she gives him a challenge. Go away and come back tomorrow with another song, this time based on a verse of scripture. Sure enough, he goes away. He comes back with a new song. Something supernatural is happening here. Hilda recognizes this, and so she gets her scholars to educate Caedmon. A simple farmhand given an extraordinary ability. Caedmon is one of those little people that Jesus loves to use. And his story, I think, tells us something about how we can discover our own callings as well. Firstly, Caedmon serves where he is. He's feeding pigs, and he's rounding up horses, and he's sweeping out stables. He's doing his day job. And just like him, when we start to be salt and light of the earth, we start where we are, whether we're in our dream job or whether we're working at the local takeaway. Secondly, God gifts Caedmon for his particular task. Romans 12, 1 Corinthians 12, 1 Peter 4 all tell us that every follower of Jesus is supernaturally gifted. And it's as we serve, doing those everyday things that we're just simply called to do, maybe sometimes even just to make money. It's as we serve that then those gifts start to come to the surface. And once we discover what they are, then we can start focusing more of our life onto them where we're most effective. And thirdly, all of this happens for Caedmon in community. He's serving in community. He has his dream in community. That dream is tested in community. And it's the community that provide the platform for him to give his gifts to the world. The song that came out of that dream, it's known as Caedmon's hymn. It's the oldest song we have in the Old English language today. Caedmon changed history. But you know, would it have happened without that community around him? I don't know. Serving, calling, community. We need all three to find our place in the world. But notice this, the central calling doesn't change. Caedmon was called to be salt and light just as much as a poet as he was a farmhand. And it's the same for us. Like me at that conference, sometimes you might feel small and insignificant. You might feel like you've got no influence whatsoever, like you've got little to offer God. You know what I think? I actually think that is the best time to remember who Jesus chooses as his change agents. It's the little people. The people without popularity or position. The insignificant farmhands like Caedmon. So whatever your quantity of talent or influence, Jesus says to you, you are the salt of the earth. You are the light of the world. Here is a life of meaning. Here is a life of resilience. So reflect for a minute or discuss in your groups. Are you prone to think of yourself as more or less than Jesus sees you? And come up with some sort of practical act you can do this week to reveal the goodness of God to somebody.